It's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. Nope, Ben, I'm not going to complain about it.
We're cold again?
I'm not going to do it. No,
okay.
Stop.
Oh, okay.
Stop, because...
Well, you're not complaining. I'm just acknowledging that it's cold again in here.
So, to the people watching at KSL Sports or at the YouTube or whatever, like, I'm going to have a runny nose the whole show. I'm just warning you. But, so... We've had this ongoing drama of the climate in the studio, which I know everybody's glued to, so we'll make this thorough. It's been quite chilly in here for some time.
Months.
Yeah. And then yesterday, something happened, and an overcorrection occurred, and it was almost 80 degrees by the time
easily
we left the studio. And this, back to a little bit on the chilly side, way better. So, you know what? Fine. I'm not complaining.
Yeah. But there's at least a 10-degree difference.
The 80 degrees almost.
When we got here yesterday.
Almost pulled a Stephen A. Smith and took a nap during the break.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Ben, I'm sleepy.
But now it's crisp. Keeps you lively. Maybe they listened to our show and they thought, these guys are lazy. These guys sound terrible.
I'm shivering and my nose is running like crazy. But it's way better than yesterday, Ben. Way better. How's it going?
I'm doing well. I bought this morning 2 tickets to my first ever NFL game.
Okay.
Because I'm going to Memphis.
Yeah, or you're going to Nashville.
Excuse me. I'm going to Tennessee in a couple of weeks.
Different experience.
And I was thinking, I've never been to an NFL game. I wonder if they're at home. And they are. They're going to be hosting the Rams in week 2. So I thought, it'll be fun to go see a game.
Tell me, I'm curious to hear what the experience is like, because I've driven by that stadium a few times, and it looks pretty cool, but you never know.
It's also their home opener. It's going to be Cam Ward's debut at home. I think it could be cool. I think it could be a cool event.
Okay, now the question is, what other team's hat are you going to wear to the game?
To get heckled?
And do you think that they will be disrespectful enough to yell at you? And I think you got to...
Yes, because it's the NFL.
Yes.
I also was just wondering, maybe I'd just wear my NBA hat, my generic NBA logo hat. Be like, you're at the wrong sport.
That's kind of funny. No, I think you'd need to wear what? Oh, Christian's not over there. You look to
He's around the corner.
Yeah. What NFL team do you think best sums up Ben's personality? And why is it the Commies?
No, not at all.
Okay. What team is it?
Bengals.
I'll take the Bengals.
No, that's the team he likes. Don't pick the team he likes.
He dresses like Joe Burrow.
Brown nose. My
gosh.
No,
he dresses like Joe Burrow.
Are you up for a raise or something? Is Ben pulling strings? What is going on?
Ben is going to give me a raise.
What is going on right now?
I just immediately went to the fashion thing and the scarves and Joe Burrow.
I saw a funny thing that Joe Burrow, you can tell when he's being dressed by his stylist, because someone said he dresses like Paige Beckers. And then when he dresses himself, he dresses like a 12-year-old boy, and you can see it.
There's the shirt, he wore a shirt that had the taco cat on it.
Yeah, exactly. There's I bought this on Amazon because I was playing video games all night, and then there's my stylist got me in top to bottom all pink suit.
See, here I am making a joke about Ben's membership in the American Communist Party, and Christian goes right to the brown nose card. Okay, I see how this dynamic is going to work. I probably ought to spare Ben's feelings by kissing up to him right now.
Not New York enough for either the Jets or the Giants. And I'm not Midwestern enough for most of those teams. What about Minnesota, which is a Midwestern team? But they're kind of irrelevant. They kind of stink. There's some excitement around them every year, and they're never good. I could see that. I could see myself being a Minnesota.
You got to
guy.
remember, Ben is very anti-patriotic too, so he would never be a Commanders fan.
Seahawks?
No.
No? Okay.
Hipster?
No. Because I don't know. When the Seahawks were good with Pete Carroll, they were kind of tough. And,
Chargers?
Oh, specifically the L.A.
Yeah,
Chargers.
the L.A. Chargers.
Yeah,
yes,
I think that might be.
It might be the
I
L.A.
think
Chargers.
The L.A. Chargers. I think. I think that might be
clearly
the answer.
a second-rung team
Playing in someone else's stadium.
Yeah, not good.
Run by a pack of bozos.
Yeah, but like kind of think they're hot shots. Yeah, I can see that.
Draft the pretty boy from Oregon.
So should I wear a Chargers hat to the Titans-Rams game? That would be funny to wear the wrong L.A. team to the Rams game.
That would be. And okay, I think the Chargers might be our answer. I think that might be the case.
Well, I get to see Puka play, which would be
Because
cool.
he's like a transplant fan, like that lady last year.
Okay.
Remember that lady that was on the TV and people were like, "Oh, this is a paid actor."
Yes, the Chargers fan.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, this is not a real person.
This is a paid actor.
Yeah.
You're not a serious franchise if you're hiring paid actors. I leaned into kind of liking the Chargers as a troll job because I worked with a bunch of people who really liked, what is that, AFC West teams?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Scotty and the Donks and Lloyd and the Raiders. And I was like, all right, I'm going to pick up on the Chargers. Nobody likes the Chargers. And David's like, David James, because they were in San Diego at the time. He's like, I don't know if you want to do this, dude.
Yeah.
And then you realize that what unserious people Hispanos are.
Tough pill to swallow.
And it's like, okay, I get what you're saying. And now DJ can just do what he wanted to do all along, and that's hate the team. Because, this is actually kind of relevant with latest news, although this isn't probably where we're going to start. But David loved the Chargers, regardless of their behavior. They were a terribly run franchise forever, but David loved them dearly. There's something interesting about sports. We drafted restaurants yesterday, and if there's a national restaurant chain that just lets go of the rope, people are going to stop going. Like, I may love Chili's, but if the service or food or the building itself or whatever.
We mentioned some of them. We mentioned Applebee's. We didn't know and drafted it. But like there were other restaurants like Applebee's. Remember Fuddruckers?
Yeah.
It's just like, once the food went south, they went out of business.
People stopped going.
Immediately.
Yeah.
You better have a thing, like I sell pies or whatever. I better have a thing.
Well, and yeah, exactly. I mean, look at the inspiration for yesterday's draft was the drama surrounding the Cracker Barrel. All things.
Yeah.
But look at people jump off that brand.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. People aren't loyal to anything except their sports teams. And I think about
hell or high water.
I think about Coach Mental came on with us on Tuesday, and sorry, Coach, I'm going to use you as an example for this, but you're certainly not alone. How could you ever be a Browns fan? I mean, it's so horribly
painful.
run.
Yeah.
So horribly run. They make bad decision after bad decision. They treat their fan base terribly. I mean, how could anybody be a Browns fan? But the truth is, Coach Mental identifies with Cleveland. That's where he's from, or that area.
Yeah.
It has very little to do with the NFL team other than he went to the stadium probably.
He happened to be there.
He went with his dad. It's a representation of all these other feelings that have nothing to do with the actual operation of the football team. And sports owners get to prey on that. They get the ultimate loyalty, and they get to capitalize on it.
Completely unearned.
In a variety of ways.
Yeah.
And I think it's almost like Gail Miller always used to use the word like stewardship. I used to hear that a lot. And I like that kind of concept because sports franchises do mean more than just businesses. They mean more to the community. They mean more to the members, all the things than just businesses.
Sure.
We're not doing restaurant talk radio at kslrestaurant.com.
Right.
People are passionate. They're loyal. It's sports. It hits different. And I do think that there is actually you owe it to your fans to run it correctly. That doesn't mean you have to rattle off a zillion championships.
No, of course not.
That doesn't mean that you have to have ultimate success all of the time. That doesn't mean any of that. That means that you kind of owe it to be a good representation of the community.
Uh-huh.
So many people, the only thing they know about Cleveland is their joke football team.
Right. Yeah. The lake that catches on fire and their joke football team.
That rubs off in the, I hate this word, but zeitgeist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You kind of owe it to the community to do it the right way. And I think that goes for college. I think that goes for pro. And there's a little extra responsibility there.
And I know right now it's easy to scoff at the Jazz and how bad the Jazz are at the moment. It's like even then they're redoing the entire arena to make sure it's better for fans. Like even when things are at their worst, they're trying to improve the process and bringing the hockey team in. And I think the hockey team's being run particularly well. And, I said yesterday I was really glad that our 3 Division I teams locally are all 1-0 to start the season. It's like it's nice that there is actually a reasonable product here. There's a really good sports product in the state of Utah because I was looking up. I bought tickets this morning for the Titans, and I was looking up Titans fans and kind of what was the narrative of the season. And you would think it would be Cam Ward. The biggest thread that they had, I think it was Reddit, was that we're no longer the last team that traded away their best player because Jerry Jones traded away Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
We're no longer the team that traded Derrick Henry. Someone has now, and that was a 3.5-year label that they had, the team that traded away their star. So I thought that was funny. The Titans are not a particularly good franchise. Along those lines, season home opener, quarterback making his rookie debut, number 1 overall pick. What do you think tickets would cost?
Oh, expensive.
And I'm upper bowl, but it's the NFL. It's a home opener.
No, you only get eight. You only get eight home games.
How much do you think I spent on tickets?
Several $100s.
How many tickets?
2 tickets.
To Paradise.
$420 total.
$60 each.
Oh, wow, that's a bargain. Good for you.
$120 to go to this game. I was like, how can I not go?
Well, okay,
that's as cheap as doing anything else in that town.
Okay, this is kind of a great example, honestly, of the overall conversation we've kind of blindly led ourselves into here, is that Tennessee is football country. They love football in Tennessee. That franchise has been terrible pretty much since they moved there, and they went to a Super Bowl. I know, and Steve McNair was a good player, and Eddie George, and it but honestly, in the long run, if you look at the whole existence, most of it is pretty bozo behavior. Have never really identified with a football craving fan base because they've never given them something to be excited about.
Right.
Week 1, Cam Ward.
Right.
$120 for 2 tickets?
For 2 very realistically, I will spend more on food than I will on the tickets.
The whole state migrates to Knoxville every Saturday for football to the tune of it becomes like the biggest city in the state. Football is a pretty big deal in Tennessee.
Of course.
It's not like they're trying to get it off the ground in Barcelona or something.
Right. It's not an unknown. It's not a startup.
No, you just have to not be. I wonder, were they in Tennessee already when they drafted Kevin Dyson? They had to be under the new ownership by then anyway. Probably. He ended up being a good pick for him. I know he is notorious for being the receiver that went before Randy Moss, which is not his fault.
Right. But was a good player.
But he was a good player.
Yeah.
Came up this short for a Super Bowl victory. And they were against the Rams, right?
I think so. Yeah, it's a right.
Huge long shot.
To go back and play the Rams again, I will see the rematch.
They've had little blips when they found a running back along the way, but for the most part, they've been not relevant. Bad quarterback drafts. Jeff Fisher, I think, was a bad coach that somehow convinced everyone he was a good coach for a while. Yeah. And then, like, his rebirth with the Rams was terrible, yet he lasted like 5 years.
Yeah, he did.
So, I don't know. Like, not a surprise, honestly. Like, Christian thought north of $400. I was kind of thinking that too. Opening day, NFL.
Which is, I think, why I bought the tickets. I was expecting that was going to be out of my price range. I'm not going to spend $150 on each on a pair of tickets. I'm not going to spend $300 for an afternoon of, on a whim. And I saw they were $60 each, and I thought I kind of have to do this. I've never been to an NFL game. It's much cheaper than going and seeing the Raiders, who aren't good either.
Well,
but at least there's a cultural aspect to that.
I don't know exactly where you're staying, but it's not going to be far away from where you're probably going to be.
No, it's not a huge town, right?
No, and there's one part of it that most of the stuff you're probably going to do is located.
But yeah, I mean, over their last 3 years, the Titans are 7-6, or 7-10, 6-11, 3-14. And they're in a terrible old stadium that's being rebuilt, and they have a new one opening up in 2027. So yeah, I just think the product stinks right now. And again, I think we're lucky, especially when we're talking football locally, that BYU's going to steamroll Stanford. Really excited to see Utah State go and play at Texas A&M, though I know that's probably not set up for a victory. And Utah's going to roll until they get to Texas Tech in a couple of weeks, and we'll see what that looks like. But we have good football. It's become a great football state, and it has been for a while.
But people buy into rebuilds or down years or things like that, at least in the NBA. But I think this is true as well in college football for most programs. But at some point, you got to get off the mat. And the hard part is that if you don't get off the mat, you can stay on the mat for a really long time. And you have to make several key right decisions. They don't all have to be right, but you have to hit a couple of home runs to get off the mat. And that's the really tricky part because people are patient, especially Jazz fans. I truly believe that. But Suns fans were really passionate too until they sucked for 15 years or whatever it was, So it's tricky business. You can start Tyler Huntley as a true sophomore or whatever he was and, bench the senior and say, hey, this is kind of a rebuild year where we're going to get this guy experience, but trust me, by year 3, we're really going to be something. You got to pay that off, which Utah did, sure, with Tyler Huntley especially. That's Andy Ludwig's best coaching story at Utah as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. I've gone back and looked through Utah's schedule, and what he was like early and versus what he was at the end was
it's a whole different player. Different player. And that decision paid off. But if Tyler Huntley did not, and this is where he deserves, we can talk about Andy Ludwig, but if he didn't put in the effort and have the personality to become that player, well, then it would have been a different story.
It's so funny, though, to just simplify it, and it's why we're talking about our local teams. We'll see what Bryson Barnes ends up looking like at Utah State and how good Bear Bachmeier actually is. It certainly feels early on, and based on some evidence last year, that Devin Dampier is the real deal. I'm looking at Tennessee Titans top passers for the last decade, and it makes your stomach hurt. It's like, oh, yeah, no wonder people have checked out on this
product. Who was that cast-off they had from Miami that they
Tannehill
that they pretended was good.
4 straight years, Ryan Tannehill was their starting quarterback.
We think
Do you know
good.
who it's been their top passer the last 2 years?
Will Levis.
Yeah. And before that, do you remember who it was? What's so disappointing is Marcus Mariota. It's like he was just terrible. He just stunk. He just wasn't a good NFL player.
I did predict that at the time. Spread quarterbacks.
Yeah.
At least then, spread quarterbacks had a tough time adjusting to the NFL. I think it's still true to a certain extent.
But before that, it's Zach Mettenberger for a year, and then it's Fitzmagic for a year, and then it's Jake Locker for a year, and it was Matt Hasselbeck for a year. And they did have Kerry Collins.
We're going way back now.
And they had Vince Young.
The pride of Penn State.
But, that's it. It's just been, and there's no consistency. They've just not had a guy. So, this is cool to see maybe Cam Ward making his home debut, and maybe he turns into a great player. But, again, it's just a reminder of until you have the guy at QB, it just doesn't matter. And it's nice to see that maybe our local schools have some real dudes.
You know what? I forgot about this until just now, but here's a bar trivia question for you.
Okay.
All right, Christian, brace yourself.
Have you ever been to a bar, Christian? When you turn 21, you can go.
Nice. All right. Who was Vince Young's first offensive coordinator in Tennessee?
Oh, man. I'd have no idea. No, that's so out
You
of my
do
wheel.
if you heard the story and really thought about it. You may have interviewed this person for all I know, although Probably not, I'd say.
Oh, was it? What was Utah's? Utah.
What year?
Oh, well, Vince Young's
Must
rookie
have been
year.
06, 05, something like
Yeah.
that. Oh, what was Utah's coach from Florida State? Who was it?
He was a Utah coach.
Okay.
At one point, he
Okay.
was a Utah coach. I'll give you a hint. He's not known for being a Utah coach, but yes, he did coach at Utah.
Who was it?
Come on now, Christian.
I cheated on Google, but I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Ben just cheated
I
on
did.
Google, too.
That makes sense. Yeah, Mike Norville.
Oh, really? I'm wrong.
Is it not?
It's Norm Chow.
Norm Chow. Okay.
My Google AI says Norm Chow.
Okay. I'm looking up different people.
What are you, fake news over
I'm
there?
not faking. You waited 4 minutes to answer the question. Okay.
Norm Chow.
Mike Norville would also make sense, but
No, it was a big
Norm Chow,
story
that makes
because
sense.
Tennessee drafted Vince Young and then hired the offensive coordinator at USC who was coaching
In the
Vince
Rose
Young's rival, Matt Leinart,
Yeah.
in the Rose Bowl. Yeah.
That's funny.
And that's when Sark and Lane Kiffin, basically started their battle for supremacy at USC under Pete Carroll.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's a storyline we saw how it played out with both those guys flaming out as head coaches at USC.
Yeah.
But Lane Kiffin had a stop with the Raiders. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
He and Al didn't get along. I love these kind of conversations, though.
We'll see. We'll see if Brian Callahan can get this Titans team on track this year.
They're going to be awesome. Who'd you say they were playing?
The Rams. It's a rematch of the Super Bowl. I get to see Puka, and you know what? I forgot Cody Barton's a captain for the Titans. Good for Cody, still sticking around in the NFL. He's been in the league for a while now,
I'm trying to think.
and he just cashed in because he had a good year last year with the Broncos. So he was just like, whatever, pay me one last. I'll
Like
go play in Tennessee.
5 years? He was probably 3 in Seattle.
Oh, I bet he's close to 8 or 9.
You think?
Cody? Yeah, he's been in the league for a while. Because he did. I bet this is his 7th or his 8th year.
He's drafted in 2019.
So yeah, this is what
6.
2019 to 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 7th year. Yeah. Good for him. He probably signed a 3 or 4 year deal, too. I mean, I know NFL deals.
3-year,
don't matter.
$21 million deal with the Titans.
Good for him, man.
Nice chunk of change.
Yeah, he's made it.
Top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com. Coming up next, Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I don't know. By definition, I don't think it is. But I don't know what he's saying.
Sure.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake, Scott, Ben Anderson. Time for the top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com. Brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Christian, where do you want to start today?
Number 1, the NFL season kicks off tonight with the Cowboys at the defending champion Eagles.
Boys, birds. Oh, I'm excited. I think the Eagles should be much better.
Is there a less likable division than that one?
What is it? Giants, Commies, Eagles, Boys?
Yeah.
Is that it? It's always ripe. I like the Commanders. I think that's a very interesting football team now, especially now that they've got a new owner who's not a crazy person. And we'll see if this ownership group continues. But Jane Daniels is truly awesome. So I think that's a pretty exciting team, actually.
I think it might be my least favorite division. As my personality.
I'm with you. I don't have a rooting interest there. I've always kind of liked the Eagles because of Andy Reid, but...
So Philadelphia fans are obnoxious, and I don't wish for
That's fair.
any of their happiness. I don't like it. No New York team is likable. The Cowboys self-anointing themselves as America's team is extremely obnoxious. And, I don't know. We'll see where the commies go, I guess. But, I mean, Dan Snyder really did a number on that brand, in my opinion.
I mean, I know I'm a lifelong Titan fan now, but Texans, Colts, Jaguars, Titans, the AFC South, it's just like the most benign.
Well, that division sucks.
It just
I think
is
there's
bad.
there's a difference between sucking and unlikable. Like, do you really dislike the Colts? Does anybody really dislike the Colts? I mean, I kind of did when Peyton Manning was there, but like, they're not a dislikable franchise.
So what's the most likable?
Out of those?
No, I'm just in general. I'm trying to think of what's the most likable division. Like maybe the NFC North. You hate the Bears, but the Lions, Packers, and the Vikings is it's a cool division.
And the Packers are. I mean, I'm not a Packers fan, but like the fact that the Packers are quote unquote owned by the community is pretty rad.
It's very cool. Yeah, and they are consistently good. NFC West.
The Lions is a historic franchise. Yeah. Like, I guarantee there are a lot more people on the Lions bandwagon now because they're kind of good, just because they felt bad for the Lions for so long. And Minnesota, they're a roller coaster. They get really good and then just punch themselves in the face.
Had some very likable players historically. NFC West, Cardinals, Rams, Niners, Seahawks.
I mean, everybody loves the Niners, right?
The Seahawks are kind of cool historically. Cardinals are, like I said, benign.
The Seahawks, though, are the Dallas Mavericks of the NFL.
Yeah, that's very fair. I know what you're saying.
Like, they were a really terrible franchise forever that never did anything. And, local connection. And I don't know if or when ownership changed. Maybe Alex Curie, our Seahawks guy, could tell us. But when they hired Mike Holmgren, remember that when he left the Packers and took the job with the Seahawks, and then they made a Super Bowl. They lost to the Steelers. I think they lost to the Steelers. Okay. Then they follow that up with Pete Carroll, and
the change was Rusty Wilson. That was really the change.
Rusty?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Rusty gets way too much credit.
But that signaled the beginning of everything moving forward, and the Legion of Boom, and everything came together.
Rusty Donovan Mitchell'd it, and I mean that from this sense. Yeah. He fell into the world's most perfect position.
Yes, he did.
And they signed that guy, speaking of Green Bay, they signed Matt Flynn from Green Bay, and Pete got him into camp, and it's like,
can't play.
Wow, this guy really sucks. He filled in for Aaron Rodgers one game.
Yeah.
And threw for like 400 yards. And the Seahawks were like,
gotta have him.
Get me that guy. Well, they were owned by Paul Allen forever, right?
For a long time.
So when did Paul buy the...
Yeah.
I mean, I bet it's a similar story to Mark Cuban, who we'll talk about later.
Very well could be, yeah.
In the show. Anywho, NFL being back, I always root against the Cowboys. I don't really want to root for the Eagles, but I guess... I mean, if it means the Cowboys losing, I'll buck up and get to it.
That game's tonight at 6:20 on NBC, so you can watch it right here on our own Channel 5 or Peacock if you have it. Tomorrow, you have to have YouTube, whichever one has YouTube. Chiefs-Chargers in the Sao Paulo game in Brazil.
Not YouTube TV, just YouTube.
Just YouTube, yeah.
It's
you can
a
just
free
stream
game.
if you have YouTube, which you do, you should. You can watch it. And then Sunday. So there are no college football games tonight or tomorrow in honor of the NFL season opening.
If I were a player, I'd be so bent that I was going to Sao Paulo.
The Chargers lose a home game by having to play the Sao Paulo game?
I believe so.
That stinks. Yeah, that'd be horrible. Now, again, they don't have a home field advantage.
I guess I get why the NFL does it. I suppose I understand. But there's no way that those field conditions are any good.
Yeah.
And I heard Trevor Riley this morning with DJ and PK talking about when he played in Mexico City. You're not going to get to see Sao Paulo. If you're Justin Herbert, you're not going to get to bounce around town or whatever. Trevor said they got in Mexico City anyway. They flew into the airport, got on the bus, hotel, game, airport, out. Like, they spent one night there. Nobody was allowed to go anywhere. They played the game, and then they got out of town.
They don't want an international incident, either from outsiders coming in or insiders going out.
Nothing.
Yeah. Oh, I might be engaged to a person who went to Mexico City as well for the Jazz, and it was the same thing. They're like, this is your square area you can stay in. And this was an NBA thing. This wasn't a Jazz thing. This is your square block you can go in. People have to know where you're going. You can go to the museum, and you can stay home.
With one minor exception. And his name was Mark Douglas.
That's right.
Who went down there to engineer for Locke. Flew down, I think, they had room for him on the... No, maybe he didn't. Maybe he flew commercial the whole way. But he had all this expensive radio equipment and had to take a cab to the... The rest of the team is bubbling onto the private
Right.
plane, and old Mark's like, hey,
You can drive down.
you can drive down.
Go through Juarez.
Oh, man, that's a funny memory. Mark was the guy who had really bad luck in the van.
Okay.
I think I've told you, but have you heard these stories? Christian just told me to move on. Whatever. Mark was driving the van when the front hood flopped up Tommy Boy style on the freeway.
Blocked the
Blocked the
vision.
view. And he was also the one driving the van to a remote up Parley's Canyon and then into the canyon by Heber. You know, you're going to Heber, going to a golf tournament for DJ and PK. So early in the morning, you know, creamed a deer. And not even like, he didn't even see the deer. So it's not like he speed checked and hit the deer. I mean, he hit it
Full
going
speed.
65 or whatever. Like it eviscerated the deer, totaled the van, like not operable anymore.
Yep.
We shouldn't have let him drive it. What's next?
Number 2, let's get to some more fallout from the Kawhi Leonard situation with the Clippers.
Again, if you missed it, Kawhi Leonard was accused of by the Pablo Torre podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out, of having a no-show job that paid him $28 million over a 4-year deal while he was with the Clippers for a company that was funded by Steve Ballmer, or at least partially. You've gone back and listened to the whole podcast.
Okay, let's do this next. Can we just throw a tease on this?
Sure.
And I'll put it this way. I feel bad because we misrepresented the entire story. So I kind of want to give it its fair. And it's not our fault. It was really misrepresented in the aggregate as you and I were reading stories about. But it's much more nuanced. It's really interesting, to be honest. And Mark Cuban came to Steve Ballmer's defense.
He did.
Which is also interesting.
Might be owner code. I know he's not an owner anymore, but it might be rich guy owner code.
It might be.
Yeah.
So
okay,
let's get into that coming up next. Because I think I don't know if it's the biggest story in the country right now, but it kind of should be.
It's certainly the biggest NBA story right now.
All right, stay tuned.
We got number 3 still.
That is number 3, isn't it? Oh, all right. What's next?
Nice counting. Number 3.
Rough.
All 3 Jazz players advance in Eurobasket.
So Lowry Markkanen and Finland lost their last 2 games of group play, but they had won their first 3, so they advanced to the round of 16. They will be taking on Serbia, and of course Nikola Jokic coming up on Saturday, 12:45 in the afternoon. Today, Bosnia and Herzegovina beat Georgia, so they advance. So Yusuf Nurkic, who's played well, he had a double-double today, advances. And then the Jazz own the draft rights to Gabriel Procida, and Italy, who has only played 1 game. He did play in their last game, a kind of a surprising win over Spain. They also advance. So all 3 Jazz players who were in this tournament advance to the round of 16, hoping to continue to move forward.
How's everybody's health?
Good. Well, that was my concern about Procida. Not concern. I mean, he's not coming over next year anyways. He's going to go play for Real Madrid. But everyone's healthy. Nurkic just played well. Sounds like he's somewhat played himself into shape. Markkanen's playing great. So
I buy into, I've always been kind of anti-international play because it is a lot of risk.
Uh-huh.
But, if you compare it to pickup, these guys are going to play in the offseason anyway, and there's risk getting out of bed in the morning. That's a difficult.
And you're getting real treatment after the games. You're really getting fed well. It's it's a good. Lowry has said he really likes it as a warm-up for the NBA season.
Probably depending on which country you play for. It probably is all over the map. I don't think the North Korean soccer team was fed very well.
Sure.
I don't think their treatment was quite where, say, Canada's would be.
It's kind of one of the conversations about Giannis is that he was somewhat malnourished in his life growing up until he got to the NBA, and that's why he had that crazy growth spurt once he got to the league. It's like, he's eating
He
better
has a normal
food.
diet.
He's getting juiced, essentially, with just the healthiest food you can find, and he exploded.
I buy into that.
Kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah. You're telling me nutrition is important, Ben? Is that what you're getting at here? All right. Well, it's good they're healthy. Good they're advancing.
Yeah.
Good for Finland.
Games start Saturday and Sunday.
Go Finns.
Yep.
What would Finland's mascot be?
Something cold, something icy.
Like a popsicle?
Yeah. Finland popsicles.
Go popsicles. Stay tuned. More next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's another battle for the Aggies, and the KSL Sports Zone has it covered. It's a trip to College Station for Utah State as they take on Texas A&M. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Let's lock in.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Hanson Scotty coming up on Friday. That'd be tomorrow at RGS Exteriors from noon to 3, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. Also, let's give away some Corn Bellies tickets, Ben. You ever done the Corn Bellies thing?
I have. Yeah.
It's super fun. Be caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE, 801-575-ZONE. And we're hooking you up with a family 4-pack of tickets to Corn Bellies in Spanish Fork, 801-575-ZONE. All right, Ben, after the show yesterday, I decided to listen to Pablo Torre's entire podcast where he broke this story.
Uh-huh.
And good heavens, talking about dragging it out to an hour and a half.
An hour's long, yeah.
It's just dragging out the whole thing. But I felt kind of bad because I feel like this story is way more nuanced than it got aggregated in the overall sports press.
And the aggregation was the Clippers had a company owned by Paul Allen.
Not
Paul Allen, Steve Ballmer, that funneled $28 million to Kawhi Leonard, which was not ever the case.
Was it not the case?
Yeah.
It's way more nuanced than just that. But the Steve Ballmer did invest in this company. And this company, it was kind of funny. It was started by two guys, one of whom ended up being convicted of wire fraud. So, and this is what happened. It was like 2 weeks ago that ended up being convicted of wire fraud. The other quit in 2022 and just ran for Congress in Arizona.
Okay.
Which is kind of hilarious.
Is his name Alex Morello?
I don't think so.
It's not the former Coyotes owner?
No, it is not. But anyway, so these two guys started this company. The company, Ben, this is just hilarious. They were a brokerage. They were a tree brokerage. So if it took whatever, I don't know, carbon footprint points, you might know this stuff better than me. I'm not sure, but there's like points on your carbon footprint record, and they'd say, well, we'll plant a tree to offset however many points that you have, right? But they didn't plant the trees.
They just said they were going to.
They were no. I mean, not only did they not do it, they didn't even really like we're going to farm out the planting to someone else.
Sure.
And then they took like a 5 times fee for the trouble, which is hilarious. And that's if any trees got planted.
Okay.
They did one site check during this whole thing on a project. Yeah. So basically this thing turned out to be a scam. That's not even the scam part of it. The scam part of it was like Fenway Park hired them to do it, right? They had some clients out there, and they had all these celebrities doing endorsements, like Robert Downey Jr. and who are the other ones? They had Leo DiCaprio, like kind of the Hollywood environmental people all took money and did ads for the problem is, Ben, they didn't actually have that many clients. And they had all these fake IPOs, which are like promises to buy that were like legit fake. Like 90% of their on-paper business was just made up. And so then they went to investors like Steve Ballmer and said, invest in this company. We're changing the world and making $1 zillion, and you can do it all, right? You know, that was their big pitch. But there was no actual business there. So they were taking the investment, but the company was nothing. I mean, it's not exactly a Ponzi scheme, but it's basically a Ponzi scheme. Yeah. It's a scam. Yeah. And there's a reason that this guy is going to jail. I guess you could make an argument that the company started in an altruistic place maybe and then just didn't succeed. Right. And then they didn't admit that they weren't succeeding. I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out in court. But the Department of Justice is all over these people. Like, this has been investigated for a while, and it's ongoing from what it seems, and that's relevant when we get to the Mark Cuban part of this. Anyway,
so where does Kawhi And
so
Palmer
so Ballmer invests in this company, but this company is also buying sponsorships in the Clippers. So it's one of those relationship kind of things where he's taking his personal dough, and it was over $100 million, and investing in this company, as well as obviously paying them for their services, and they're giving him a sponsorship deal. So Kawhi Leonard signs a $28 million sponsorship deal with this company. And Pablo had some anonymous sources who altered their voice and came on one anonymous source to talk about it, and then actually got a hold of the sponsorship agreement that the company has with Kawhi Leonard, which now, up until this point, actually, Ben, is really not that uncommon, okay? Like the Jazz, think about this. Rudy, what were the doorbell commercials? That was for, who was that for? Rudy and Vivint and Ricky Rubio.
Yeah. Taylor Hendricks does it now, I think, right?
And I loved that ad campaign, by the way. That was a really great ad campaign. But that was a situation where Vivint was a client of the Jazz, and the Jazz probably had something to do with those players getting facilitated. It had something to do with them getting hired. But the deal with the players and the deal with the team have to be separate. Right?
And to the point you saw Rudy doing doorbell commercials.
Right.
You see Taylor Hendricks doing the commercials.
And I don't know if Ryan is invested in Vivint or not, but they did the commercial.
Right.
You hired them to do the work. They did the work. They paid the money. It's separate, right? So in this case, the problem is all these A-list celebrities did endorsements for this company. Kawhi didn't do anything. And if you look at the sponsorship agreement, it's basically written in a way where he doesn't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. It's a really interesting nuance where there's a clause in there that says he doesn't have to do anything he doesn't believe in.
Okay, I don't believe in planting trees,
which is not uncommon. No, here's the trick of it, which I find it fascinating. It's not uncommon. Like Ben, you're a vegan, obviously. Uh-huh. If you signed a sponsorship agreement with whomever, you're going to put in there like, listen, I can't endorse.
Right. Don't eat cat.
I can't endorse.
Don't eat cats.
A burger company or something like. But in those contracts, the word believe is defined in the contract.
Okay.
So they would say Ben is a vegan.
Sure.
He can't do this. It's defined in the contract. They don't define the term believe. So yeah, he could say, I don't know. I don't believe in trees. But it's a loophole that is really curious.
Okay.
Because it's basically saying he doesn't have to do anything, and he didn't. And then this insider is saying they prioritized his check every single month. He was the highest paid sponsor, higher than Robert Downey Jr., higher than Leo, higher than all these guys, and didn't do a dang thing, which is what raises the eyebrow in this circumstance.
Now, Mark Cuban's argument in favor of Ballmer is that.
But the point being is that Ballmer could easily have said, like, hey, we're in all these agreements. You got to just take care of Kawhi because I'm looking for a way to pay him a little bit more, and I promised him a guaranteed sponsorship deal. So just take care of him. We're in business together. So do this for me, and we'll get along fine.
Right.
That could have happened. But it's not a direct Ballmer-owned company pays Kawhi Leonard. Okay, you were saying, I'm sorry.
This company, Aspiration, was also a big sponsor of the Clippers. They'd spent like $300 million on them. And Mark Cuban's argument is that, it makes sense that they would want to pay Kawhi Leonard a lot of money, Aspiration, because it makes the Clippers look good and they're advertising with the Clippers. So if the Clippers are good and we're advertising with them and their best player is happy and sticks around for a long time, then we're going to benefit from that as well. That's Mark Cuban's argument. Pablo Torre has said, the smoking gun is that they have people saying that they were told that this was specifically to circumvent the salary cap.
That was the buzz. That's what his witness heard.
Yeah.
So,
and he says he has 7 different sources, including one on tape, saying that that's the case.
That's the buzz.
So that's what the NBA will look into.
Here's what Cuban said. I want to read the tweet because I think it's interesting, but I also, I don't buy that argument about the Clippers being better, so they get the value out of that.
Agreed.
That's kind of true, but that's not the story.
Agreed. Here's
what Mark said. He said, I'm on Team Ballmer. As much as I wish they circumvented the salary cap. First, Steve isn't that dumb. If he did try to feed Kawhi Leonard money, knowing what was at stake for him personally and his team, do you think he would let the company go bankrupt? Knowing all creditors would be visible to the world. And he goes on. He says, they got scammed by Aspiration along with many others, crimes for which they pleaded guilty last week. Scammers do scammy things. They did a $300 million sponsorship deal with the Clippers in 2021. That's a huge deal. The better the team does, the more value the sponsorship has. It actually makes perfect sense that if they stole money from investors and want the Clippers to succeed, why not give stolen money to help their best player? And then he takes a shot at Pablo Torre for not looking into it more. But what he's saying right there can be true, but does not actually discredit Pablo Torre and what he's reporting. First of all, I could believe that Ballmer did get scammed.
Right. Of course.
A lot of people got scammed.
Absolutely.
I could believe that. But he could have also used the company to pay Kawhi Leonard because of their relationship. It doesn't mean that Ballmer's necessarily scamming anything. One thing Torrey threw out that was a little reckless was that Ballmer bought into the company after some of the some of the stuff what the company was doing was becoming public. He bought in after that. If he would have done more diligence. And it's like, well, Bernie Madoff ran a scam for decades where there was no there. People just
bought in.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. You miss something on diligence or you don't do it or you get talked into it or whatever. And I would believe that Ballmer got caught up in all this. Again, altruistic, Ben, save the environment. This sounds great. This sounds like something we want to be a part of. But it doesn't mean just because he got scammed does not mean that he did not pay Kawhi Leonard through, that he didn't launder it through. Now, here's the one straw man real argument that Mark Cuban did is why would he let the company go bankrupt? It went bankrupt because the CEO is going to jail.
Right.
Because it's a scam. So why would he prop up an illegal operation? That sounds like a good way for him to end up in jail.
Yeah,
so
that's caught up in something.
That's not really an argument. I had my wife listen to it, and one thing she brought up is that they signed the sponsorship agreement. And Kawhi Leonard did not try to hide it. It was not hard for Pablo to discover that Kawhi was the recipient of this because the name of the company was KL2 Aspire. And the checks were directed to Uncle Dennis. His name is on there. I mean, it's not, they didn't try to hide anything.
Right. KL2 is Kawhi's number.
They said this is a sponsorship deal. And you may say, well, yeah, but you got a no-show job, but that's the sponsorship agreement. They really didn't do anything illegal.
Yeah.
Now the NBA might say, well, you broke the crap out of our rules.
Yeah.
But they didn't really do anything illegal because he doesn't believe in planting trees or whatever.
Sure.
He didn't have to do anything.
NBA said they're investigating. We'll see where they go with it. Again, I told you yesterday, I think there probably is something shady going on, and I also don't know if the NBA is going to be able to prove anything.
This is all really embarrassing for Ballmer, though.
Yeah, it's a bad look.
Because his defense is, I got scammed.
Yeah.
He can't admit that he was in on the scam, so he has to say, I got duped. Out of over $100 million.
Yeah. Now he's worth $150 billion, so he's fine.
And now my scam with Kawhi Leonard is potentially up above. They do have a defense, though. Like the way it was presented in the national media yesterday, I thought made it seem like they just buried
it was a done
Ballmer.
deal,
he is not red-handed guilty of this. They have a defense. And I don't think that he was... I mean, I believe he was skirting the rules. I don't think he did anything illegal because, like I said, this guy's going to jail.
Right.
So don't commit fraud, people.
I'll be curious where the NBA goes with it.
So sorry to dive into that. I found it fascinating. And I know we've got the Big 12 Power Poll coming up, but that story grabbed me yesterday. I dove into it because this stuff I really find interesting.
Mark Cuban tweeted that him and Pablo Torre recorded a 3-hour podcast.
Oh, hey, good for Pablo. I'll listen to it.
Yeah, for sure.
I listened to his stuff yesterday. I'll listen to it.
He does a good job.
Yeah. All right, stay tuned. More next. 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.
Who is climbing? Who is falling? And who just flat out stinks?
Some of y'all football sucks.
This is the Big 12 Power Poll with Jake and Ben on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Nominate the youth sports
You're good.
volunteer, for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. We usually do this on Tuesdays, but Ben wasn't here on Tuesday, and I refused to do it. So we're doing it.
It does take some work to do.
We're doing it on Thursday. It had nothing to do with the work. So we're doing it today. The Big 12 Power Poll, where we take all 35 teams in the Big 12 and we rank them top to bottom.
And now we've got some real data. Every team has played. Some teams have played twice. We at least have something.
This is just bound to be better than last week.
It will be. And there's quite a bit of movement, actually. Surprising.
All right, Christian.
No movement here. Still number 16, Central Florida.
They looked bad. They beat Jacksonville State 17-10. It was close. They needed, they didn't squeak it out at the end, but it wasn't a blowout. And yeah, Central Florida, you got to be winning games by more than this.
Not good enough to get out of the cellar, anywho.
No, and there are teams that are winless that I guess could be worse than Central Florida. I'm not convinced they aren't, but UCF has not done anything to show me that they're better.
Next.
Same story here. Number 15, Oklahoma State.
They did beat UT Martin by more than 7 points, so I guess that's a plus, but it was only 27-7, and their quarterback got hurt, and they've got another starting quarterback for week 2 already. It's a bit of a mess, and they're at Oregon. They're going to lose by 1,000 points.
Did you see Gundy complaining about budgets?
No, but I believe it.
He said, and tell me if you believe these figures, because he did soften it and say, well, I may be off a little, but tell me if you believe this. He said Oklahoma State has spent $7 million total in the last 3 years. Oregon spent $40 million on its roster last year.
It's and not sure that's the complaint he thinks it is.
Oh no, we were calling him out because it's a huge bozo move. I mean, he's really dumb for that reason. But I'm saying, do you believe the figures?
I definitely do with Oregon. Maybe not. Did you say 40 this year?
In 1 year, like last year.
Maybe. That seems a little high for Oregon. I don't think some of those numbers are actually accurate. If you want to bring in everything in sponsorship deals, maybe, but that's not the schools necessarily, obviously. If you can't spend money on your players, it means you have the wrong players there. Right? If you're not spending money to retain the players, you don't have good enough players to pay. Like, I think Utah's easily doing that. BYU's easily doing that to keep the players and get the players on campus that they want. So I think that's where the weird brag comes in. If you don't have $7 million to spend on your players, it's because you don't have a good team in the first place.
Well, I think he's saying he doesn't have the resources to pay his players more. I think that's
I think
what
it's
he's
the opposite.
saying.
No, and I think that's what he thinks he's saying. And what I read that as now is, yeah, you didn't have good players worth investing in, because if you did, boosters would have stepped up to pay him. You would have been good enough for people to stick around.
I don't believe his 7.
You think that's too little?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
The school of T. Boone Pickens. But then I also said, like, when he was paying players under the table from T. Boone, I don't think he was complaining about anything.
Yep, agreed.
What's next?
Number 14, the Colorado Buffaloes.
They creamed Dion. What's up with that?
Dropped 4 spots because they lost at home to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, but that's a real team. They lost to a team that's at least like a D1 team.
Well, no one else lost to a not real team.
No, I know, but like, how can you punish them so much for just happening to lose when they at least played? Georgia Tech is. I mean, my point is, if they played Portland State, they wouldn't have lost.
Correct, they wouldn't have. But this is a power ranking. This is not based on what I think they're going to look like 12 weeks from now.
I'm telling you why I didn't. And hey, I'm not even high on Colorado ever. But
yeah, that's the thing. I wasn't high on them coming into the year.
I didn't have the heart to bump them down a bunch of spots because, like, it's good for you. Play Georgia Tech.
They were quite good last season. Colorado was. But they lost an NFL quarterback and the number 2 overall pick in the draft. It's like, yeah, I don't think you're going to be particularly good. I'm not a huge Dion believer. He had the one good year last season, and then they went out and they lost. I mean, Georgia Tech is not a historically good football team. It's a very mediocre ACC team.
It's usually middle of the road. Georgia Tech's rarely bad.
Middle of the road at home in a bad conference.
Sure, but again, better than Stephen A.
Jake?
Austin.
I didn't have Jake as the Buffalo fan here, right?
I'm
Buffalo,
not.
you are.
I just didn't have the heart to
You're
cream
a
on
Buffalo believer.
I didn't have a heart to cream them for losing to at least a real team.
Well, I did. They're terrible, and I think they're going to be bad all year. They do play Delaware this weekend.
What's next?
Number 13, Houston.
1-0, beat Stephen F. Austin, 27-0. That defense should be legit.
It was good last year.
Yeah.
But how do you give them credit for that? I mean, not tying into our Georgia Tech. I mean, the challenge of voting in this poll is how much credit do you give them for beating Stephen F. Austin?
Well, it's early in the year, so not a ton.
Was it last year or a couple years ago when BYU played Stephen F. Austin and they didn't blow them out like they should, and everybody thought, like, it's all over. It's shut down the program. Like, what do you take from it? I don't know. That was my challenge anyway. But I like Houston's defense, sure.
They play Rice this weekend.
Next.
Number 12, Arizona.
I did bump Arizona up. They were 14 last week. I voted them 11. And they only beat Hawaii. And, I don't think Hawaii is particularly good, but they held them to 6 points. And that's coming after Hawaii beat Stanford. So at least there's some football math there.
I'm rooting for Brennan. I think that's a bad sign for Stanford that they creamed Hawaii like that. Hawaii having beat Stanford in week 1.
And they get to play Weber State coming up this weekend. I believe it does Arizona.
Next.
Number 11, Cincinnati.
Probably could have punished them more. I probably could have dropped them
Yeah, you had
further
them
down.
at 10.
Yeah.
I don't think Nebraska is any better than Georgia Tech.
No, I don't think they're better than Arizona either. No, that was my fault. I should have had them lower. I was scrambling a little bit here late. Yeah, they lost to Nebraska and looked bad. Cincinnati's bad. This is and they should be lower. This is my fault. I should have had
I'll
them at 13.
stand by it. I think that's fair.
Christian had them at 10.
You had them at 12.
I did.
I would take Arizona and Houston over Cincinnati right now. So that's my fault. Should have
Next.
dropped them.
Number 10, Baylor.
Big drop. I mean, they were 7 last week. They dropped down to 10. They just looked bad. They really looked bad. I watched that game against Auburn. They just were toothless.
See, how much, fine, they lost to Auburn, toothless, whatever, but I didn't drop them that far. I had them at 9 because I didn't know how to punish teams for at least losing to a real team. The problem with Baylor, and the reason you are so down on them, in my opinion, I'm projecting onto you, sorry, is that every Big 12 honk in the country was being like, Baylor, this is their year. Dave Aranda, Baylor. And then they lose to Auburn, which who knows how good Auburn is. Probably pretty decent. And they didn't get blown out.
Okay.
They didn't get blown out by Auburn. So how much do you actually punish them just because, I didn't think they looked like I expected them to look?
It was 2 touchdowns. It was at home. And now they're going to play at SMU, who's a ranked team. They're going to start out 0-2, and this Dave Aranda stuff is not going to work. I'm not a huge Dave Aranda believer. Like I said, I think he's a very good coordinator. I don't think he's a great head coach. He wasn't good at Baylor before. So I get it. They've got a decent quarterback, but I'm just not buying Baylor.
Next.
Number 9, West Virginia.
Beat Robert Morris 45-3 at Ohio this weekend.
You're on the Rich Rod train, Ben. You had them at 9.
Well, they'll be at 2-0 and 9, and that's where they are.
I had him at 10, Christian at 11. Hey, Rich Rod is a good coach. Flawed man, but good coach, and his system wins. It's won everywhere he's gone with the exception of Michigan.
Yep.
Which his system isn't. You shouldn't be running that at Michigan. You should be running that at West Virginia and at Arizona.
Yep.
Jim Harbaugh ran a pro-style set for a reason at Michigan because you can. And you can at West Virginia or Arizona. So anyway, Rich Rod, round 2. What's next?
Number 8, TCU.
Might be a sneaky good game. Utah at West Virginia, September 22nd or 27th. That could be a much bigger game than I think people had originally thought of.
TCU had a real win. I had them at 7 because North Carolina, much like Georgia Tech, is at least a real team in theory.
Are they?
I don't know.
Are they?
It might go south quick.
I think North Carolina might win 4 games this year. And I'm not a huge Sonny Dykes believer, but it's a good. It's one of the better wins. It's not the best win of the weekend for a Big 12
If you
school.
told me North Carolina turned out to be better than UCLA, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think those schools are so comparable. I think those two are so exactly the opposite coastal versions of one another.
Yeah, all I'm saying is don't bend over backwards to give the Utes credit for beating UCLA and then not do the same for TCU.
No, I'm not.
I think TCU could be good. What's next?
Number 7, Kansas.
2-0. and beat Wagner 46-7. The first win of the week of the season was not very good either. We'll get a much better idea if Kansas is for real this weekend when they go on the road and play at Missouri.
Ooh, an old rivalry, right?
Very cool.
Reborn?
Yep.
Look out.
So I'm excited. That's of what I have said is a very barren landscape of games this weekend. There's only one true top 25 matchup, and it's Michigan-Oklahoma, two teams that could be phonies. This is one of the better games, I guess, but probably not one that's going to draw a lot of eyeballs.
What's next?
Number 6, BYU.
They were at 6 last week. They're at 6 this week, and I think it's because it's easy to say, I don't know how much we learned.
Well, I think we learned some stuff about other teams, which is why I had BYU ahead of our next selection.
But Portland State is the worst team in all of college football.
And they won 69-0. I mean, I get what you're saying, but let's get to the next one.
Number 5, Kansas State.
No, I don't. Okay, I apologize. I did mess up my voting here. Kansas State is not the third best team in the league. That's where I had them. No, Kansas State stinks. Truly might stink.
I have Kansas State at 6. I had to put Kansas State behind BYU because I've seen Kansas State lose. And listen, Iowa State is not a bad loss. But then to follow that up with an absolute clunker, even though they won against North Dakota 38-35, that is...
No, Kansas State should be like 8 or 9 here, in all honesty. Based on A, what their actual record is, 1-1, and B, what they've shown, they've been awful.
Yeah, well, I had them at 6. I still had them ahead of TCU. Because they didn't get blown off the field by Iowa State. But, yeah, I'm not a believer in Kansas State.
But North Dakota was marching. If North Dakota picks up a first down, they weren't marching. It was I think it was 3 and out. But if they pick up a first down, they could have run out the clock and won. Kansas State needed a last-minute drive to win that game against North Dakota. They were down late in the fourth quarter.
Don't look at me. I didn't put them at 3.
No,
Christian put them at 5.
No, it's my fault. I put them at 3. It was my fault. I had them too high. I should have had them much lower.
What's next?
Number 4, Texas Tech.
Ugh.
Beat Arkansas Pine Bluff 67-7. They play Kent State this weekend. We won't learn anything about them.
Go Kent State.
We'll see.
Next.
Careful, Jake. You're going to ruffle some feathers.
Lubbock's going to come for us.
Hey, a dear friend of mine went to Kent State in the 60s during that whole thing.
That whole thing.
That whole, thing that Kent State is known for.
Yeah.
Anyway, go Kent State. Next.
Number 3, Utah.
Moved up from 4, and I think deservedly so. They did have a real win over a Division I team, and it was on the road, and it was sound.
Why'd you rank them 4th then?
I think they deserve to be here. Well, because I don't know how I ended up with Kansas State at 3. My math got messed up here, and I was doing it quickly during the commercial break because I also had to add it up.
I couldn't justify putting Utah ahead of Iowa State because Iowa State had the win over Kansas State and then throttled South Dakota. And I was a little shaky on Arizona State, but they haven't done enough to fall off the top, in my opinion. I had the Utes at 3 with the ability to climb, although I don't know about with a win over Cal Poly.
Again, I think they have the second best win overall in the conference so far this season, just because it was a D1 opponent and it was on the road and they won by 33 points and they looked awesome. That is why I think Utah definitely deserves to be in this conversation. Do we actually know much about them? Probably not. We'll get a much better sense week 4 when they play Texas Tech.
TCU did the exact same thing against North Carolina, but they won by 34 points.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't
Maybe you're
believe your logic.
Maybe you're right.
What's next?
They traveled further.
Number 2, Iowa State.
Beat South Dakota 55-7. Yeah, they've been good so far.
Yeah, I can't justify moving the Utes ahead of the Cyclones quite yet. And the Cyclone model of consistency.
They'll play Arkansas State coming up this weekend.
Next.
And still number 1, Arizona State.
I did have Iowa State over Arizona State, and I think that's deserved. A, Iowa State's 2-0, and B, they did beat Kansas State.
Yeah, Arizona State had kind of a clunker against Northern Arizona.
Yeah, gave up 19 points, only doubled them up 38-19. Not super impressive.
I told you, the whole challenge of this thing was not reading into too much
early on
especially
these
game
opponents. 1. Yeah, game 1 you never know.
I've seen Utah's best teams have a clunky performance against Weber State game 1.
Go to the Rose Bowl. Yep.
Yeah.
Arizona State plays Mississippi State this weekend on the road, so that's an interesting game. There's some decent games this weekend.
The Bulldogs, eh?
In the Big 12, but nothing nationally that's going to draw many eyeballs.
All right, Christian, you want a review?
Central Florida, bottom of the barrel, they are at 16. And then we go Oklahoma State, Colorado, Houston, Arizona, Cincinnati, Baylor, West Virginia, TCU, Kansas, BYU, Kansas State, Texas Tech, Utah, Iowa State, and Arizona State.
Kansas State should be lower. My fault.
All right.
I'll own that.
Okay. I just wonder, you're still high on Kansas State. It's fine.
And they might be okay. They'll probably figure it out, but they haven't looked good. I would be nervous if I was a Kansas State fan.
Come on, man.
Had a bad start to the year.
My buddy married a gal that went to Kansas State. On top of that, Ben, she's a townie from Manhattan.
Okay.
Anyway.
Is that where Bowler's from?
Yeah.
He's from Manhattan.
Is Bowler from Manhattan?
He's a Kansas State guy.
He might be from Manhattan as well. If that's fake news, Bowler,
Shout
I
out
apologize.
Bowler.
Yeah, shout out to Craig Bowler-Jack. All right, we'll have more Jake and Ben coming up straight ahead, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go!
Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. The Cougars get set for a home showdown with Stanford this Saturday. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. Got a little NBA news for you, Ben.
Okay. I like the NBA.
Your guy, the windbag,
Brian Windhorse.
had this to say on Ben Simmons. Quote, "The interest has been lukewarm. The reality is he's looking at the minimum contract. He might even be forced to take a contract where he's not guaranteed. At the end of the day, Ben Simmons' stock has been falling dramatically for years."
Well, he hasn't been good for a very long time.
Ever. That's
Your
the
argument
story.
is ever.
That's the story with Ben Simmons is don't be fooled by people that tell you somebody's good.
Another interesting thing, and this is kind of ties in, which is the hard part about the NBA, is you can track production in the NBA more than maybe any other stat or any other sport. I guess baseball you could say as well. There's some weird defensive stuff that might be a little more difficult. But it may mean less. Like baseball, you generally have there are so many advanced numbers that you can actually generally tell if a player's pretty good based on their numbers, right? Good slugging percentage or home run total or all the different OPS, whatever you have that you can tie in and say, yeah, it makes sense. Or, runners or hits with runners in scoring position, et cetera, et cetera. Basketball has so many empty stats players that it's really hard to tell who's good and who's not. And then if you put those empty stats players in different positions, how good do they become? Or there are guys who don't put up huge numbers that are actually really impactful to winning, and it's hard to find out who they are. And Ben Simmons is a guy who's put up big numbers for a long time that it's hard to say how much he's ever actually helped anyone win. Cam Thomas today, who plays for the Nets, who averaged like 25 points a game last year, he just signed his qualifying offer, meaning he's going to make $6 million next year. He was a first-round draft pick who can't get a deal because the Nets are betting on him that he's not actually a good player, even though he can score 25 points a game.
I think the stat point you're making about baseball, and I actually have a baseball comparison to make now that you brought it up, but is silly in basketball and why a lot of analytics people or analytics stuff is just hot air because how much you have the ball or what your role is determines what your stats are.
A lot of it, yeah.
If your role is the 1A guy who also is the point guard, like say Luka, you have the potential to have just bananas stats. Mm-hmm. You want to know why Rusty Westbrook won the MVP? It's because he was the 1A guy and he had the ball in his hand.
He played 40 minutes a night.
The entire game, and he averaged a triple-double. But where was that team going? Nowhere, right? But his stat, if he was on a team that was going somewhere, his stats would have been a lot lower because his role would have been different, right? So is Rusty the player? Which player is Rusty? Is he the one-man show? I mean, statistically, there's just so much that goes into it. It makes it so noisy that it's tough to, and I'm backing up, I think, what you were saying.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's tough to understand what is what because there's so much nuance that goes into the stat. And there is that in baseball, but to your point, not enough. But as far as Ben Simmons goes, I have a baseball comparison to make for you because the Sixers played him in a specific role that he could pile up a bunch of stats. And frankly, the league didn't know how to guard him for probably longer than it would have taken. But here's my point on if Ben Simmons was ever good. Do you remember Hideo Nomo?
Uh-huh.
If you look at Hideo Nomo's stats, he was incredible, lights out, Major League Baseball's best pitcher for about half a season, maybe a little bit less. I mean, awesome. And you remember his delivery where he was facing almost entirely backwards and then he came forward. Christian Hideo Nomo was a pitcher for the Dodgers in the late 90s. One of the first to come over from Japan, had a wacky delivery and took the league by storm, again, for about half a season.
I have a Hideo Nomo shirt I wear relatively often. Yeah.
What happened then for the rest of his career, by the way, he was an okay, not great pitcher. He was like a, third or fourth in the rotation kind of guy.
Yeah.
But that first whatever, he was incredible. So what happened why did his stats go down? Why did his production go? Why was he no longer the best pitcher?
Because everyone saw him.
He went through the league once.
Went through the rotation.
He went through the league once, and everybody saw the weird delivery and was like, okay, well, I got this figured out. And then he was just
average pitcher.
Average pitcher.
Yeah.
Was he ever the best pitcher in the league?
No.
What was reality?
Right.
Like, the reality was the rest of his career.
Right.
Good, not great. The reality was never best pitcher in the league. He just had a gimmick that people haven't figured out. Once the league, and I can't believe how long it took to get there, but once the league figured out that they just gap Ben Simmons and don't even bother to guard him ever.
He was almost useless.
Like when he had that 60-point performance against the Jazz were actually trying to guard him.
Right.
Why did they do that? So my point is, was Ben Simmons this great player who forgot how to play basketball? Or was he someone that everyone said he was good, so the league guarded him differently, and once the league finally figured out, like, wow, we really don't have to guard this guy, he's out of the league? He can't even get a vet minimum contract.
Right.
Total liability. But was he ever good? My argument would be no.
I would listen to that argument. Again, you look at 6'9", can play point guard, multi-positional, was a good defensive player, and I do believe he was a good defensive player.
Because he was 6'9".
But then again, like what's the actual gap between Chris Dunn and Ben Simmons? Much smaller than people think.
Yeah, great point. That's a good
Chris
comp.
Dunn was in the G League fighting for his life with the Maine Blue Claws, while Ben Simmons was racking up DPOY votes. All defensive first team.
And
awards.
got a max deal.
Yeah, made 2 All-Star games, 3 All-Star teams. And again, was putting up 16 and 8 and 4. But you give a guy 35 minutes a night, they're going to get 16, 8 and 4 if they're playing point guard and have the ball in their hands the whole time.
Absolutely.
I had a good question.
See Chris Dunn's stats with the Jazz at the back part of 2 years ago. Sorry, go ahead.
I had a good question in my mailbag a couple of weeks ago on the podcast I do. And some guy said, are NBA players better than we think, or do they have inflated views of themselves? It's like, no, NBA players are all way better than you think. Every player is great. But to your point, they just don't get usage, right? Every player is so good. And if you gave them 25 minutes a night, their numbers would be huge. Now, that doesn't mean it contributes to winning at the highest level. That's the elite of the elite.
Bingo.
But if you do give every player a lot of opportunity, their numbers will inflate because they are absurdly good at this sport.
If Chris Bosh would have stayed in Toronto, he would have been a 30-10 guy.
Yeah.
Instead, he went to Miami, and he was a 19-10 guy.
Yeah. And the hard part is you get paid more if you're a 30-10 guy. So why would you want to go somewhere else, and actually contribute to winning?
That's somebody who wanted to win.
Yeah.
And quite literally put his money where his mouth is.
So that's that. And again, that's why I think the NBA is so hard and why numbers, they don't
tell the whole story, not even close.
I'm not anti-analytics by any means. I really am not. I just have consistently said the one stat that matters is wins and losses. It's just the only stat that actually matters because you can paint bad players to look good using some analytics numbers, and you can say, well, this guy's X, Y, and Z, and they're just not, and you can miss on some guys because they don't check X, Y, and Z boxes and, they're not as efficient as they should be. It's like, there's still value there. They can still help you win games in certain ways. You just have to know how to use them. The coaches have to know how to use them and put them in those positions. And you're right, Ben Simmons is a good example of a guy who is going to be a funny flash in the pan, who will look at his 4 years and people will be like, he was really good. And it's like, he certainly probably was never good as anyone thought he was. Maybe Jake was right about Ben Simmons.
It's never good. Here's the thing with honestly with analytics. Rick Majerus's quote was always great. It's like a string bikini. It reveals as much as it conceals. Just don't wave analytics in my face and tell me you know what you're talking about. That's it.
Sure.
If you want to, I saw somebody online arguing about a stat they found somewhere and somebody else had used the stat. They were like, hey, that's my stat. No, it's not.
Right.
Just because you can do a Google search and put it out online doesn't make it proprietary to you, nor does it make you smart.
Right.
So don't wave it in my face and tell me that you know what you're talking about. And I believe the same thing about basketball guy, too, who will dismiss anybody that's not in the club.
Yes, of course.
Don't tell me that you know everything just because you're a quote-unquote basketball guy.
Uh-huh.
I find that stuff obnoxious. But you see a lot of that with stat guy. I know what I'm talking about, and then wave analytics. This is what should happen or whatever.
Right.
Daryl Morey is funny because he does both. He claims to be a stat guy and then shoots from the hip and does the worst stat moves possible. I'm a stat guy who believes in analytics. Get me Rusty Westbrook, the worst stat player in the last 10 years.
And look,
like analytic player. The analytic nerds hate Rusty, right?
Yes. I don't think Jordan Clarkson was helping the Jazz win the last 2 years. And the stats don't say he was helping either. But there were people arguing before that, that Jordan Clarkson has never been a good NBA player. And I very firmly disagree with that, And I know there are people who said, well, Joe Ingles should have won the Sixth Man of the Year award or whatever. I just think there's things about Jordan that help you win, and they're not going to be captured every night on paper and every night over and over and over. He's not always the best player, but there are things about Jordan that help you win. And I just think you have to look at it beyond the whole picture says X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to ignore kind of his highlights. And I think we do that to us.
Oh, so here's why Jordan's a great example of what we're talking about, in my opinion, on the role thing. What was Jordan's best year as a basketball player?
0203, right?
0203.
22-23. Excuse me, I always do that. 2022, 2023.
I don't even think Christian was born.
He wasn't. Let's get a Facebook page fired up.
03. It was the year after he won the Sixth Man of the Year. It was Will Hardy's first year,
right,
in my opinion.
22-23. And it was a couple years after he won Sixth Man, but yes.
But yeah, 2 years, you're right. It was the year that he was a starting guard, and he was a playmaker, and he moved the ball. I remember the first game we saw him have 5 assists, Ben. I on the post game, I about fell out of my chair. And I think on the show, you and I played his clip from years before that where it was a joke when he had 3 assists or something like that. I thought that was his best year as a basketball player. I thought he was really good that year. But was he more effective in that role, or was he more effective as the gunslinger coming off the bench? The gunslinger coming off the bench. That was his biggest contribution to winning basketball. He wasn't good enough to be that on a competitive team, to be the starting playmaking guard on a competitive team, even though that was his best year as a basketball player.
He averaged 24 and 4. Those are great numbers.
Great numbers.
Yeah.
His best year when it came to winning basketball was when Quinn Snyder played him 20 minutes a night and told him to shoot every time.
Yeah.
Even though I found that Jordan Clarkson obnoxious,
it's what the team needed.
It's what the team needed.
Yeah.
So what's the real Jordan Clarkson? Well, the real Jordan Clarkson is the sixth man one, the one that came off the bench. That's the real Jordan Clarkson.
Yes,
that's
I think
the productive role on an NBA team. That's what right for him. Lou Williams couldn't have been a starting point guard on a playoff
Jamal Crawford, all these guys. But it doesn't mean they're not valuable.
But if they were on the Hornets playing starting two guard, that's probably when they would play their best basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So basketball's funny that way. So what's real? The stats with Jordan Clarkson with Will Hardy, or the stats with Jordan Clarkson with Quinn Snyder? What's real?
Yeah.
Well, if you mush all those stats together, that tells a totally different story.
It does. And yeah, again, my thought is the real is who are you at your best when your team is playing the best? You know, what role are you playing when the team you're on is at its absolute best?
In Ben Simmons' case, it's injured.
Yeah, it was injured. It was off the floor.
No, I truly think that Doc Rivers calling out Ben Simmons for not being a point guard might have been the beginning of the end for Ben Simmons because the rest of the league woke up. You combine that with the highlight of him passing up a layup, the whole world figured out, like, good heavens, why are we guarding this guy?
Yeah.
And then it's next stop out of the league.
Oh, it was truly the emperor has no clothes. I mean, it was by definition Doc Rivers saying, can't win with him. He's got no clothes. And then it flipped.
Everybody's
like, immediately.
He's naked!
You can't win with that guy. He's naked.
Wrapping up the show next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nobody gets you ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready?
It's the home opener for the Utes as they battle Cal Poly in Rice-Eccles Stadium. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airwaves, talking sports. They got it made, Jake's and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarf. Oh my.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson, wrapping up a Thursday show. Ben, you going to be all over the NFL? We can get it on KSL Channel 5 tonight, huh?
I am. I'm a fan of the product. I'm not a huge fan of the NFL itself. I get a little bit of NFL fatigue in a way. I know a lot of sports fans don't. I know it's what a lot of people eat, drink, and sleep. Obviously, by the time you're kind of in the heart of the NFL season, the NBA has kicked back in, and it takes up so much of my attention because of the job. But I like the early part of it. I like that people are healthy for the most part. I like that everyone's pretty optimistic, that we know not everyone's going to be very good. And as you have said a lot of times, it's really funny how quickly the NFL can kind of round into shape if you're a team. Like, you can have a special year out of nowhere. Now, I don't think either the Cowboys or the Eagles qualify for that. I mean, the Eagles just won the Super Bowl, and the Cowboys are always expected to be somewhat good and just took a major step backwards right before the year started. And I don't think they're real contenders to do anything. But again, I told you I was on Titans message boards this morning just to see what people are saying about this team. One of the nice things that the NFL does is it really changes your schedule to be really easy if you're terrible, right? They give you a super low strength of schedule to make sure that you don't have several seasons in a row where you only win 3 or 4 games. So you can bounce back quickly. So I like that fans get excited about that. And there are great examples of teams like the Commanders and getting a star quarterback, even as a rookie, that turn it around. So I like that part of the NFL. So yeah, I'm very excited about tonight.
I'm like that? Yeah, just like that.
Dang. Almost made it to the whole show without saying it.
I honestly, like, the fact that the NFL has such a good product really bugs me because it's the only thing on television anymore. So now it's divided between 19 different ways to watch it, as opposed to the magic of the NFL. Used to be that it was on Sunday.
Yep.
And Monday night.
Yep.
And you had to have over-the-air TV to see it. It was accessible to all. And it's part of the reason it became like, what's the line? It was in the documentary, but I think it was in the movie too, the Will Smith movie, the concussion thing, where it says, like, never pick a fight with somebody who owns a day of the week.
Yeah.
You know, how did they end up owning that day of the week? Well, they put it on broadcast television, and they made it a part of people's lives.
Right.
And now it's on Thursdays and Fridays and all Sunday. There's 3 time slots for Sunday and Monday night.
Monday.
And you have to subscribe to 6 streaming services, and some of it's on cable and some of it's over the air and all this stuff. It's the fact that it's such a great product and it's the only thing people watch on television anymore has actually worked to the detriment of people who are actually fans of the product. Does that make any sense?
Yes, that's funny. The diehards who actually do want to find it wherever they can get it, it's made it harder for them.
I'll give you a comparison. Facebook famously did not do ads for the first whatever of its existence, whatever it was, 5-10 years. They purposely didn't do that because they wanted to get everybody on board. And then now what has Facebook turned into?
Just an advertisement.
Just ads all the time. But yet people are still on it and put up with the ads because they bought in when it was ad free. Whereas the NFL, we'll just give it to everybody. And then once it's hugely popular, then watch us carve up that fandom. And it's business, I get it, but sucks to be the customer.
Outside of the Olympics, and it's really, the major Olympic events, swimming, some gymnastics, is there a better actual sports product than the NFL? As you
on
said, the
TV?
production is just so good. Yes, on TV.
Well, the football in general just lends itself to television. So, I mean, it's a big part of the reason the NFL and college football are so popular.
But it's such a good product.
Yep.
It's so easy to watch. It's so enjoyable. It takes up a lot of time, so you can stack it with as much commercial and ad product as you want. It's impressive.
Speaking of football, former football player Hans Olsen coming up next with Scotty G on Hans and Scotty. We will talk to you tomorrow on a Friday.
Thanks, Christian.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.